Adrift in the void. The vast emptiness of space surrounded the Neveri fleet. 32 ships drifting silently, their normally vibrant energy signatures now dim and faltering. On the command bridge of the largest vessel, the Stellaris, Fleet Commander Terrace stared at the status reports with mounting dread. "How much longer can we maintain life support?" she asked, her translucent skin pulsing with anxiety, a physiological response her species couldn't control when under extreme stress. Chief Engineer Kelver reviewed the calculations for the 5th time. 9 days at current power levels, Commander. Perhaps 12 if we shut down all non-essential systems and begin evacuation of the outer ring ships. Terrace's four-fingered hand moved across the holographic display, studying the fleet's configuration. 9 days to find a solution or wash her people, nearly 12,000 refugees, die slowly in the unforgiving vacuum of space. The Neveri fleet had been traveling for almost 18 months, ever since their home system's primary star had begun its catastrophic destabilization process. They had hoped to reach the sanctuary worlds in the Ceridian cluster, but the unexpected quantum anomaly had changed everything. The engineering teams have exhausted all conventional repair options, First Officer Neville reported. The phase crystals were completely shattered by the anomaly. Without them, we cannot generate sufficient energy for faster-than-light travel. Terrace nodded grimly. And our distress signals? Still no response, Commander, Communications Director Salori said, her voice hollow. This region appears to be largely unexplored. We may be the first to pass through in generations. The bridge fell silent. Their situation was dire. The Neveri were not explorers but refugees carrying the remnants of their once great civilization. Scientists, artists, teachers, and workers, the last of their kind, all packed into these failing ships. Commander, Salori suddenly straightened at her station. I'm detecting unusual signal patterns. Terrace moved swiftly to her side. What kind of signals? Communications traffic. Substantial amounts of it coming from a nearby star system. Salori's antenna twitched with cautious excitement. The patterns suggest an advanced civilization. Hope and apprehension battled in Terrace's mind. During their long journey, the Neveri had encountered 4 other spacefaring species. None had proven friendly. The Kreth had immediately opened fire. The Volturians had demanded impossible tributes for safe passage. The Munzer and the Kalthin had simply ignored their pleas for assistance. Could it be the Volturians? Neville asked, tension evident in his voice. Salori shook her head. No, these signal patterns are entirely unfamiliar. A species we haven't encountered before. Terrace paced the bridge slowly, weighing their dwindling options. We have no choice. Prepare the Horizon scout ship. We must investigate. 5 hours later, the fleet's fastest remaining vessel, barely larger than a shuttle, prepared to depart. Pilot Eris ran through the final checks, while Science Officer Mira calibrated the sensors. Remember, Terrace told them via holographic projection, your mission is reconnaissance only. Determine if this species might help us, but do not reveal our full situation unless absolutely necessary. We cannot risk another Kreth incident. Eris nodded gravely. 7 ships had been lost in that encounter. May the starlight guide your path, Terrace said, touching her forehead in the traditional Neveri blessing. The scout ship departed, its small engines pushing it toward the distant star system. Behind it, the Neveri fleet continued to drift, power reserves dropping with each passing hour. On the horizon, Mira monitored the increasing signal traffic as they approached the system. It's extraordinary, she told Eris. The communications suggest a planet with billions of individuals. Their technology appears less advanced than ours in propulsion and energy generation, yet surprisingly sophisticated in computational and material science. Eris maintained her focus on piloting. Can you decipher any of it? Not yet. Their language patterns are unlike anything in our databases, but I'm detecting regular space traffic in the system. This species has definitely achieved interplanetary travel, though perhaps not extensive interstellar capabilities. 2 days later, they reached the outer edges of the star system. 8 planets orbited a yellow star, but it was the third planet that captured their attention, blue and green, teeming with life and artificial satellites. "Look at all those orbital structures," Mira said in wonder. "They must have hundreds of satellites and stations." A sudden alert sounded. "We're being scanned," Eris reported. "Something is approaching from the fourth planet, moving fast." On their view screen, a vessel appeared, sleek and white with blue markings. It was smaller than the Stellaris, but clearly built for speed and maneuverability. Strange symbols on its hull read, UNSCPHFINDR. "They've detected us," Mira said unnecessarily. The alien ship adjusted its course, moving to intercept them. Eris tensed, ready to retreat if necessary. "Wait," Mira said. "They're broadcasting something." The communication system crackled with unfamiliar sounds, the alien language. Mira worked frantically at the translation matrix. I think they're greeting us," she said in surprise. The alien vessel now kept pace with them, maintaining a respectful distance. No weapons appeared to be active. "Should we respond?" Eris asked. Mira hesitated, then activated the universal greeting sequence, a mathematical pattern that any advanced species would recognize as artificial and deliberately communicative. The response was immediate. The alien ship transmitted a similar sequence, followed by simple mathematical equations and elemental atomic structures. "They're establishing a communication baseline," Mira realized. "They'd want to talk." Over the next several hours, a rudimentary communication developed. The aliens called themselves humans, and their planet Earth. Their ship was part of something called the United Nations Space Command. "Remarkable," Mira said. "They've established a basic translation matrix in just hours. Their computational abilities are impressive." Eventually, simple messages could be exchanged. The humans requested permission to approach closer. After consulting with Commander Terrace via long-range communication, Eris agreed. As the human ship drew alongside, they received a visual transmission. On their screen appeared a creature unlike any they had seen. Pinkish-brown skin, only 2 eyes, and filamentous growths on the top of its head. It wore a gray uniform with silver insignia. "I am Captain Sophia Chen of the UNSC Pathfinder," the creature said, the translation rough but understandable. "On behalf of Earth and her colonies, I welcome you to our solar system." Eris and Mira exchanged glances. The greeting seemed genuine, with none of the hostility they had come to expect from other species. "We are Neveri," Mira replied carefully. "I am Science Officer Mira. We come in peace." "May I ask your purpose in our system?" Captain Chen inquired. Eris and Mira hesitated. Commander Terrace had warned them to be cautious, but something about these humans seemed different. "We are scouts," Mira said finally. "Our fleet." She stopped, unsure how much to reveal. "Your fleet?" Chen prompted gently. Mira took a deep breath. "Our fleet is stranded. Damage. We were passing through nearby space when we encountered an anomaly that disabled our propulsion systems." Chen's expression changed, showing what they would later learn was concern. "How many ships? How many people are affected?" 32 ships, nearly 12,000 people," Eris said quietly. There was a brief consultation among the humans on their bridge. Then Chen faced them again. "Science Officer Mira, we would like to offer assistance. With your permission, we can rendezvous with your fleet and assess how we might help." Eris stared in disbelief. Mira's antennae quivered with surprise. "You would help us? Strangers?" she asked. Chen seemed confused by the question. "Of course. That's what people do when others are in trouble." As the Pathfinder prepared to follow them back to the stranded fleet, Mira sent an urgent message to Commander Terrace. "We have made contact with a species called humans. They have offered help freely, with no demands. In all our travels, we have never encountered anything like them." The scout ship turned, leading the way back to the waiting fleet. For the first time in many months, they carried something precious with them: hope. The bridge between stars. Commander Terrace could hardly believe her eyes as the small human vessel approached her fleet. The USC Pathfinder looked tiny next to the massive Neveri ships, yet it moved with confidence. On the main screen of the Stellaris bridge, Captain Sophia Chen's face appeared again, now speaking through a more refined translation system. Commander Terrace, we've completed our initial scans of your fleet. The damage is extensive, but we believe we can help. Terrace's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as she studied the human. Their species looked so fragile: soft skin, no protective exoskeleton, only 2 eyes. Yet they had offered assistance without hesitation. Captain Chen, we are grateful, but I must ask, what do you want in return? Chen seemed confused by the question. We don't require payment for humanitarian aid, Commander. That's not how we operate. The Neveri officers exchanged glances. Such behavior defied everything they had experienced in their journey. I've contacted Earth Command, Chen continued. 2 engineering vessels are already en route to our position. They should arrive within 36 hours. In the meantime, we'd like to send over some supplies and technical teams to assess your most critical systems. Terrace hesitated. Allowing aliens aboard their vessels went against security protocols. First Officer Naval leaned close. Commander, we don't know if we can trust them, he whispered. We have little choice, she replied quietly. Our life support systems will fail long before we can repair the ships ourselves. She turned back to the screen. We accept your offer, Captain Chen. 6 hours later, the first human shuttle docked with the Stellaris. The airlock cycled, and 7 humans in blue uniforms stepped onto the Neveri ship. Leading them was a tall, dark-skinned man with a shaved head. Chief Engineer Marcus Jackson. He introduced himself, making the human gesture of extending a hand, then awkwardly pulling it back when he realized the Neveri didn't share this custom. My team is ready to begin work immediately. Terrace assigned Chief Engineer Kelvar to escort the humans. As they walked through the ship's corridors, many Neveri stopped to stare. Few had ever seen aliens up close, and none had seen humans before. In engineering, Jackson examined the damaged phase crystals with growing interest. Fascinating technology, he said, scanning the shattered components. These crystals channel energy in ways our science has only theorized about. Kelvar watched nervously. Can you repair them? Jackson shook his head. No, we don't have the ability to recreate these. But I think we might be able to adapt some of our technology to work with your systems. While the engineers worked, another human team led by Dr. Eliza Okafor distributed emergency supplies to the refugee ships. They'd brought nutrient synthesizers, portable power units, and medical equipment. On the smallest ship, which housed primarily families with young children, Dr. Okafor discovered something unexpected. She was treating the young Neveri with a respiratory condition when she noticed the child was fascinated by her tightly coiled hair. Would you like to touch it? She asked gently. The child reached out tentatively, touching the strange texture. Soon, other children gathered around, their fear of the aliens forgotten. By the end of the day, Dr. Okafor had Neveri children following her everywhere, asking questions about Earth and humans. Back on the Stellaris, Captain Chen met with Commander Terrace to discuss their situation more thoroughly. Your people are refugees, Chen said. It wasn't a question. Terrace nodded slowly. Our home system's star became unstable. We had very little time to evacuate. These ships carry what remains of our civilization. And your destination. The Ceridian Cluster. We believed it had planets that could support our biology. But now, she gestured helplessly at the status reports. Chen was quiet for a moment. There may be suitable planets in Earth-controlled space. Once your ships are repaired, we could discuss settlement options. Terrace stared at her in disbelief. You would share your territory with us. Just like that. Earth has several terraforming projects with minimal populations, Chen explained. And frankly, Commander, we've been hoping to make peaceful contact with other intelligent species for generations. Your arrival, while unfortunate in circumstances, is something many humans would consider historic. Not everyone shared Chen's enthusiasm. In the ship's security section, Security Director Velen watched the humans with suspicion. He had served in the Navary Defense Force before the evacuation and had seen what desperate species could do to each other. They must have some hidden motive, he told his deputy. No species helps another without benefit to themselves. Perhaps their benefit is diplomatic, his deputy suggested. An alliance with us. Valen snorted. What could they gain from allying with homeless refugees? No, they want our technology. Those phase crystals, even damage, are more advanced than anything these humans have. On the second day, the engineering vessels UNSC Prometheus and UNSC Daedalus arrived. They were larger than the Pathfinder, clearly designed for complex repair operations. With them came more engineers led by Dr. Avery Nakamura. Nakamura met with Jackson, and together they presented their plan to Commander Terrace. We can't repair your crystals, Nakamura explained, but we believe we can create a hybrid system using our fusion technology linked to your existing energy network. It won't be as efficient as your original drives, Jackson added, but it should give your ships enough power for both life support and limited propulsion. How limited? Terrace asked. You won't achieve faster than light travel, Nakamura admitted, but you could reach the nearest habitable planet in our system within 3 months. Communications Director Salori had been working closely with the humans on translation and cultural exchange. She stepped forward now. Commander, I've been studying their star charts. They have a planet called Novaterra that appears compatible with our biology. It's a terraforming project still in its early stages, Chen explained, but the atmosphere and gravity are already within parameters that should be comfortable for your people. First Officer Naval looked skeptical. And Earth would just give us this planet. Not give, Chen clarified. Share. We propose a joint colony. Your people have agricultural techniques that could be valuable on a developing world, according to what Director Salori has shared with us. The proposal spread quickly through the fleet. For the first time since leaving their homeworld, the refugees had real hope. Children who had known nothing but ship corridors their whole lives asked their parents what a sky looked like. But in the lower decks of the Stellaris, Security Director Velen gathered his most trusted officers. We cannot trust these humans so easily, he told them. If their technology can power our ships, then we should take it by force if necessary. Once we have what we need, we can find our own planet, away from alien influence. One of his officers looked troubled, but they've shown no hostility. Not yet, Velen replied. But history teaches us that no good comes from depending on the mercy of strangers. As work on the hybrid propulsion system continued, no one noticed Velen's officers quietly studying the human technology, making their own plans. The future of both species might depend on whose vision prevailed. On the 4th day, as the first hybrid propulsion system was being tested, disaster struck. The local star, which had shown only minimal activity during their stay, suddenly erupted with unexpected violence. A massive solar flare, many times larger than predicted, headed directly toward the vulnerable fleet. Impact in 15 minutes, Science Officer Mira reported, her voice steady despite the danger. Our shields can't withstand this level of radiation. Commander Terrace turned to Captain Chen, who had been on the Stellaris for a status meeting when the alarms began. Can your ships withstand this? Chen shook her head grimly. Not completely. Our shields are better against radiation, but the electromagnetic pulse will damage our systems too. Without hesitation, Chen activated her communicator. All UNSC vessels. This is Captain Chen. Emergency Protocol Sierra. Move to shield positions around the Navary refugee ships. Priority to vessels carrying children. The 3 human ships immediately responded, positioning themselves to provide maximum protection. The Pathfinder placed itself above the smallest Navary vessel, which housed the most vulnerable refugees. What are they doing? First Officer Neville asked in confusion. They're using their ships as shields, Terrace realized, her voice filled with disbelief. Chief Engineer Jackson was already coordinating with his team. Nakamura, what's the status of the hybrid propulsion systems? 5 ships have fully operational systems, came the reply. The others are in various stages of installation. Can any of them move? Maybe 3 could manage emergency propulsion, but not far and not fast. Chen turned to Terrace. We need to move as many people as possible to the ships with working engines. They should move behind the local moon for protection. Terrace immediately began issuing orders. Begin emergency evacuation of ships without propulsion. Priority to children and elders. Throughout the fleet, chaos erupted as Neveri rushed to gather essential belongings. Human crew members helped guide them to shuttles and transport vessels. On the smallest ship, Dr. Okafor organized the evacuation of the children. Stay together. Hold hands, she called over the noise as small Neveri clutched their few possessions. In engineering, Jackson and Kelvar worked frantically to stabilize the power grid on the Stellaris. If the main systems failed during the flare, even the ships with working engines would be crippled. As the minutes ticked down, Security Director Valen watched the humans working alongside his people. His deputies awaited his orders to seize control, but the orders never came. Instead, Valen found himself helping a human medic evacuate elderly Neveri from the outer ring ships. When the solar flare hit, the human vessels took the brunt of the impact. Their shields flared bright against the onslaught of radiation. The Pathfinder, positioned directly in the path of the most intense radiation to protect the nursery ship, suffered critical damage to its outer hull. Inside the fleet, power systems fluctuated wildly. On the Stellaris, Jackson and Kelvar managed to maintain core life support, but at a cost. Jackson was severely burned when an energy conduit ruptured, yet he continued working until the crisis passed. When it was over, the fleet had survived, damaged but intact. The human ships had suffered the worst, with the Pathfinder requiring extensive repairs. In the aftermath, Commander Terrace found Security Director Valen in the medical bay, helping treat injured humans and Neveri alike. I was wrong about them, he admitted quietly. No species sacrifices for strangers unless they truly value life above all else. 3 weeks later, the combined fleet, human and Neveri vessels together, approached the blue-green world of Nova Terra. With the hybrid propulsion systems now installed on all ships, the journey had been slow but steady. On the observation deck of the Stellaris, a young Neveri child stood with Dr. Okafor, watching as the planet grew larger in the viewport. "Is that the sky?" the child asked, pointing to the swirling blue atmosphere. "Yes," Okafor replied with a smile. "That's your new sky." Behind them, Commander Terrace and Captain Chen stood side by side, watching their peoples prepare for a new beginning. "We still have much to learn from each other," Terrace said. Chen nodded. "That's the best part of new friendships, discovering what we can accomplish together." As the ships began their descent toward the planet's surface, both species looked to the future with something they shared: hope. And in the vast universe, where distress calls often went unanswered, a bridge had been built between stars.